I've been doing the tap dance with you, and I respect it completely. It's been a great back and forth, and I appreciate you, and I love the tone of it. But I think that's like that's the zealotry, and I'm not knocking you for it. But, I have some people that are extremely close to me. They're low key, they're zealots. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. Like, a part of being a true believer is to be a zealot. And it's like, I think that there's a lot of people that feel
that. Question?
Sure.
Ask you a question. So, I don't know how familiar you are with the Bible. And I'm not even identified as a Christian, but let's just put it this way. I've read it a time or two. There's not a lot of dust on my Bible. And my understanding is that you don't need to be a zealot. In fact, it illustrates very clearly that all that's required is faith, and they even quantify that you only need faith the size of a mustard seed. So I think you're just I think that what you're saying, it's your opinion, but it's not consistent with the teachings in the Bible.
That's cool, and I appreciate that, and I may very well be wrong, but my perception is that and it's deep because when you talk about like being kind and being good to people, I'm not under the impression that based on the Bible I've read that's a requirement to make it happen.
I like that. Anthony, you didn't ask me if it's a requirement. I gave you my observation. But did any of you guys have the opportunity to witness the funeral for
the
person that just died over in the United Kingdom? The Black Sabbath guy.
No, I didn't see it.
So you got for it. Look at some of the people who dressed up, the Black Sabbath, and all the things that they did. Yet you say that. And I come with good intention, and yet I'm still called a zealot. I'll take that every day. I wear that badge because I do not ever want to say to someone, hey, this guy's a kind person. He takes care of everything. He's a kid. He loves his wife. He's a zealot. I take it all day, Anthony.
So and I'm glad you said that, right? It's not meant as an insult. And I think that, it's, last week, Roger and I were having it back and forth. It was about tariffs and free market. And, Roger is a self-proclaimed, free market zealot, right? He had an issue that day with tariffs. I don't know where the stance is right now, but I think that having strong beliefs is okay. I don't this time, like you said, there's certain things that I hold true to me, and I'm a zealot about certain things.
What are you a zealot about?
I'm a zealot about my faith. What are you a zealot about?
I'm a zealot about zealots, I suppose. People who make all or nothing statements all the time.
I am a zealot about gun rights. I'm a zealot about free market capitalism. That's about it.
So
I don't think I would ever use the term zealot for myself. But like I said, I would have been bad because coming on Clubhouse and me getting kicked out of a room because people think I'm a Bible thumper, and only because I mentioned a couple of scriptures as a standard, it just shows me where our society has gone. And I think that what makes Clubhouse and why it is so what I call outside of the boundaries now, because we can't have discourse. I know people don't agree with everything Edward says. People have all kinds of belief systems. But for someone to come at someone who wants to do right, it's just interesting to me. That's all. I don't know how to answer this. Because like you said, if it was up to you, you wouldn't have kicked me out. anymore. Just having a conversation of what could be.
Speaking of discourse, are we talking about anything, or is this like a meta discourse?
It's a meta discourse. So Edward, like you keep on talking about people wanting to do right. This is part of the issue. Your idea about what's right versus what somebody else's idea about what's right, it doesn't make you correct in your assertion and them wrong. There's no moral imperative. I am not the standard bearer for the world. My belief system is not the standard for everybody else to be judged. Like you speak in this idea of absolutes that, that's kind of, like going in line with the ideas I'm talking about.
Understood. Okay, so the challenge that you and I are going to have is that you have no absolutes. But you do have absolute AI going to take over everything, and we're going to lose our jobs, and we're not going to have that. So you do have that absolute something, except in just being a good person. Now, if I say to you, me cheating on my wife is not absolutely wrong, or me going in and smashing and grabbing, or me doing something to violate another human being, I think that what you're saying when I say what's right, I believe that there are certain things that we all know that is what I would say good behavior, correct behavior. But you want to say, well, you're not morally correct for everybody. I'm not saying that. I've never said that. Because I can't choose for you or anybody else. But I do have a right as a person to share my viewpoint and my belief system, and people want to accept it or not. But for you to say that you think I'm being morally for everybody else, that is entirely not true, because if I could be, we wouldn't have a lot of talent that we currently have in the world.
Okay. We're getting kind of circular now, and it's cool. Listen, Edward, I like you. So Edward, I like you. I think you're a mom. Like, you stand on business. You have a belief system. You have ethics. You have a rule that you follow. And dude, like, we don't have to agree, but I like consistent people, and you're a consistent person. So it's there's fine details that we could explore and dig into, and suss out the differences, but
it seems
I don't want to bore them to tears.
It seems to me like there's two types of people: the aggressive, obnoxious, antagonistic people, and the people that have found peace, solemnity, equilibrium, balance, and joy, and they don't spend their time getting angry or attacking people. And unfortunately, in the religious community and in the atheistic community, there are people within both of those communities that are very antagonistic. But it's the people who, in my opinion, that have found enlightenment, that have absorbed the wisdom and actually utilize it in their personality, that they have obtained the wisdom that's within the Bible and other books. And it's the antagonistic people that have not picked those books up in years and come on here and are very angry and very loud, very antagonistic, and they want to stir the pot and they want to poke the stick. Those people, to me, are obnoxious and low IQ. That's my opinion.
Cool. So, to me,
another cool story.
Anthony, I do like the discourse we had with Dwight. You haven't got an opportunity to share anything.
Yeah, appreciate it. Man, I ain't gonna lie, I forget now. Y'all were talking about something, and I was gonna speak to it, and that is.
I think you were talking about AI when you were commenting in the chat, right?
Yeah.
And I love your name, Dwight, man. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, no, it's my face was triggering people, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna just lean into it. But I really don't troll, though. I actually don't. I really just chill. Like, I have regular conversations, but whatever. So yeah, no, I forget. It was something that y'all were talking about AI, and I think I felt somewhere in the middle, but I forget the exact point I was gonna make. But it's all good.
In the chat, I read where you said that you agreed with everything I was saying except for one point. And I was curious to know if you remember what that one point was. Maybe me saying that might jog your memory. It might not. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. So basically, I do remember now. So you were talking about how, like the other people in the conversation were kind of disagreeing. Like they were saying, AI can't even do this, it can't even do that. And you're like, no, y'all don't understand. Like it not only can do that, but it's already doing that. And while you acknowledge that, Roger had made the point that, listen, we've recovered from these sorts of changes every time, which I agree with. But you basically responded that, look, I get that, but this is unprecedented, right? So I agree with you on that. I think that the one place where I disagree is that I fall somewhere in the middle, because all of the people that were responding saying AI can't do this, AI can't do that, I think that's very, very misleading. Tech is actually kind of like my background before I started doing what I do now. So I have a kind of foot in, foot out of the tech world. But I think people are very much misunderestimating the application and how broad the applications of this is going to be and how many jobs it will replace. And it's not even debatable. It's not even a question. Especially if you're a person that is pro capitalism. Listen, if I'm a company and I want to make money, and I want to keep my costs low, AI is going to be my number one goal right now. Anything that I can automate and make less cheap to make it happen, I'm going to do that. I don't give a fuck about your humanity. I want to hire humans. I'm sure there's going to be some companies that do that, but let's be honest, they're going to do what makes the most fucking money at the end of the day. So I think the only place where I disagree with you, and I think Roger has kind of a point, when it comes to kind of historically how these things work, what happened to all the telephone operators? What happened to all the people that serviced payphones? You know what I'm saying? We have all of these examples of ways where what actually ends up happening is the jobs that are needed just tends to shift. So I think that it's just not so doomsday scenario for me. I do have a little bit of optimism, and that's one place where I do agree with Edward. I do agree with just human will and just the ability of us as a society to kind of figure things out to some extent. But it's definitely it would be due to us shifting how we operate in society, not due to we're just gonna hire people because it's the right thing to do. Corporations, companies that are trying to make a profit, and especially if you're publicly traded with your literal fiduciary duties to your shareholders, you have to do that. You will literally, the board is going to remove you if you don't utilize AI and utilize everything that's available to you. I mean, you have a legal obligation to do that. So I think
there's a lot, Dwight, there's a lot of executives that don't do what's in the best interest of the shareholders. I can assure you.
Oh yeah, and I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but I'm just saying, I think you're, as a CEO, as one of the people that's running a company, your shareholders are going to definitely be looking at you a certain way if you say if everybody else is using AI for X, Y, Z in your industry and you're not, especially if your company starts falling behind and these other companies start to be more competitive. So that's something that's going to be, and also I think where I agree with
Hey, Dwight, real quick, not to cut you. Something you'll see on Clubhouse will happen all the time, right? You can say something that's that's pretty obvious, that's generally true, that most people would agree with. And then you're going to have somebody that's going to come off of their mic and they're going to bring up some kind of edge case or some kind of, they're going to say something to contradict, what you just said, which was perfectly reasonable. I don't know why people, constantly do that on Clubhouse.
It's called the opposite position, Anthony. It's how you get to the silver lining.
It's just very, very, very odd. Like, it doesn't really move the conversation forward. It doesn't make the conversation more interesting.
It's just like your opinion.
I do want to address the points that you're making, like that nuance where we might not see eye to eye on. The other night I had dinner with a buddy of mine. He used to, back in the days, he was an A&R executive for a very big record label. And, while we were sitting waiting for our food, he used an app, I forgot the name of it. It's an artificial intelligence app, and he made a beat. He actually made 2 beats in 5 minutes in front of me. Now, there's a point in, the history of the world where you need like a bunch of musicians to come together into a studio to, record to get something equivalent to what he did in 5 minutes by himself using artificial intelligence. And it was the beats that he created were both really, really good. I have another buddy that he uses artificial intelligence to create automations. Like back in the days, if you wanted to, whatever your business was, you're a roofer, and you wanted to create a commercial for your roofing company, that was a daunting, expensive task. Just the creation of the commercial that required a whole lot of people to pitch ideas, plan. It was now, you can, in a matter of minutes, like come up with the concept. You can use the AI to help you come up with a concept and implement it solo by yourself. The tentacles, like I had a conversation with a radiologist the other day, and the radiologist was like, well, they'll always need humans. And, I didn't push back. I just listened and I smiled. Radiologists, they value x-rays, CT scans, MRIs, ultrasounds. All radiologists are really doing is pattern recognition. Are you going to tell me then, like, a human being is going to be consistently better than artificial intelligence in terms of recognizing patterns? Is this not even close searching? Not even close. It won't even be close. It's not even close. It's fundamentally just doesn't make any sense. So, what I'm trying, and I took like a bunch of different examples in a bunch of different industries to just try to show, like, no one is safe. Nobody's safe. There's so many different ways that this is a game changer. And we are still at hello.
So, Anthony, I have a question, because you said not even close. Do you not enjoy the human element of life? Just the part that where we sometimes make a mistake or we get it wrong or whatever. Do you not like that part?
Absolutely excellent point, Edward. And Edward, for the record, what I do for a living, I'm a registered nurse, right? And that human touch, that element, that touch, that human element, the empathy, the connection, like, I don't diagnose people. That's not my job. I carry out doctor's orders, and I try to help my patients in whatever way, is reasonable and needed. And I don't think that necessarily that can just be willy-nilly replaced. I'm not like, and I have my own biases because it's my profession, and of course I'm going to find some way to defend my profession against AI. I'm clear on that. But there's like a connection that, when you've had like a really good caretaker, that's different from somebody that I don't think you can get from a machine, or somebody that doesn't get the shit.
Anthony, it's called bedside manner, right? Because Anthony, I work in the physical therapy field. It's called bedside manner, and it's definitely the human connection versus dealing with just some robotic, unemotional being taking care of you. And to a degree, yes, it's getting to a point, and I think it's less than a year away, where physicists, doctors, a lot of those doctors will be able to plug things in that'll give them information they don't even understand or know or learning. So again, with AI right now, it's only as intelligent as you are. It can give you the generic answers, but it's about the user experience, and the smarter you are in your questions, your prompts, and how you ask those questions. On the music end, making music, I have a background in music. Suno is one of the ones I was mentioning in chat, where you can literally ask.
That's the name of the app that he did.
Yeah,
Suno.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, yep. Anyway, yeah, I'll get quiet again, but I just want to share.
No, Sean, no, he is on point. So, Anthony, you know I'm in death care, end of life matters for 37 years. So, you know, we've made efforts where we do have some bots on some of our funeral home and cemetery crematory websites, but the families do not respond the same because they still want to talk to human beings. When I sit with families, it's they just lost a son or they lost their spouse, homicide, OD. You know, these are the things I talk about when it comes to human elements. Not that the tool of AI is not a tool to help us. I just do not want to get away from people meeting each other organically. You know, this slide left, slide right, all this kind of stuff. I think that we're getting away from community, and I think that we're losing ourselves because we're so reliant on the tool. And I hear you, there's a lot of things that are going to change, but I still want that human element. I want that part to where my 9-year-old granddaughter can still call me and say, "Gee, Tom, I just wanted to say hi." Versus my 34-year-old daughter who decides to text me, and we have this conversation over and over and says, "Baby girl, don't text. I want you to call your father so I can hear your voice." I want my son to do the same, my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law, because I really stress to them that we don't want to get away from the human component. That's all.
Like, I definitely agree with that strongly. I think the way that I envision that manifesting is probably different because I think one really good point that they're making, like it'll happen in ways that we don't expect. So like, let's say that for something, you know, like an RN, okay, maybe all of the things that you do now, all of that is now, you know, in 10 or 20 years, it's now done. You know, it's all done by, you know, AI is done by machinery. We've got things that do it better than humans. However, you still, it may just make more sense in terms of like people's recovery, where yeah, the machine's doing all that, but you're still walking in, talking to the patient, you know, asking them how they're feeling, all that sort of thing. Not because you need to do that, but it's in the patient's best interest. I think that the concern, though, and this is to Anthony's point, even though that is all true, and we have recovered from all these things before, the question is really to what extent will that actually happen? Because when you have so many industries, like, all right, for example, like take the telephone, like when at some point, you know, telephone operators were no longer needed. What was the rate of like new crazy innovation at that point? It was a lot. I mean, that was a very innovative time in human history. Of course, you know, we've kind of been on like this exponential curve. But I don't know of any time in history that we've seen so many industries be permeated by one thing all at once. And I don't know if, like, all right, like transportation, that's one of our biggest industries. Like, do I need the fucking funky ass Philadelphia bus driver to be on this bus and let me on this shit and maybe knock me out if I say some shit that his ass doesn't like? You know what I'm saying? Some of these industries that don't necessarily need that human touch are huge industries. So I think the percentage of jobs that are in jeopardy all at once is the real concern. It's not so much our ability to bounce back and all of that sort of thing. It's just that speed aspect.
Yeah, Dwight, I think that the part that you said about the bus driver is interesting. The reason why is I think that these are things that you don't experience in any other place. I've been to 54 countries around the world, right? And just having those experiences with people that you may not ever meet, hop on buses in different countries and having a tour guide that, need a breath mint and all this other stuff. I hear you. But reality for me is those interactions, those opportunities are what make Edward Edward. I like that. I like when families walk into the funeral or cemetery and I have the opportunity to drive them around and discuss about their loved one that I've never got to meet and to hear that human element. And you're correct. It's going to change. But I think because we are resilient people, a resilient creature, that we are part of the creation, and there's nothing more wonderful than the human being. No machine, no robot, no nothing. I just want us to remember that part, not taking away anything else. I just want to make sure that we get that part to where we don't forget that element. I think a lot of people today sit around, even kids, brothers and sisters sit in the same space, and they're texting each other right next to each other versus talking, or there's a restaurant. I mean, guys, at some point, we have to really think to ourselves, is the technology benefiting us, or is it a tyrant? There's two things that we got to look at. So I know there's some benefits, but I don't want to become tyrannical, that's all.
Well, it's like a cultural infection right now because we have to be able to balance. We're getting to a point where we're going to have to use it as a tool, but not let it tool us that we become. Because this is where going into the future, and not so far future, where people are talking about having an arm or leg removed and transhumanism. And I hate to, if you haven't heard that term yet, do your research. But basically improving upon your body and people wanting to constantly upgrade. It starts with Neuralink, but where does it stop? So we're starting to give away parts of our culture and the importance of our own personal critical thinking as human beings, and then just basically giving it up to something that's not human whatsoever and not having control over it. It's very it's a concern. I think we all need to take it extremely seriously, and we have to be unified on it. Where does it stop? It can be a good tool, but where does it stop? Because eventually people get comfortable with what it is, and then we just accept it, and then we just completely hit the eject button on relying on the one-on-one communication, and then it goes from not just texting across the table, but we just sit in a bubble like in whatever that cartoon was, that movie where people were just in bubbles sitting in like a pod. They just live in their pod. It's like the VR experience, right? And then you just don't even go outside it, and you just
I think
in a virtual world.
there's a movie.
Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
Gotcha. No, I'm saying there's a movie. I believe the name of it is Elysium, something like that, where they had this machine that could heal anybody of any ailment, and the rich people that were formerly on Earth have left, and they've colonized like a satellite right outside of Earth. And there's this the star of the movie is trying to get to Elysium so that he can heal some family member of his. I think that was the premise of it. But I kind of just see this. So many people are super, super optimistic and see this, this future of plenty, and it could play out that way. And there's no country I would rather be in as we go through the change than the United States. I think that of all the countries, when we look at the demographics and the ability to fix demographic issues through immigration, when we look at like just our ability to be self-sustaining if need be, and our military might, I think that when you combine all of those things, America is probably best positioned of any country to survive what's coming next, as unscathed as possible. But that doesn't really mean much, like I think that we are going to go through some difficult times. This is, and when I used to laugh at the UBI, I thought like, this is ridiculous. This is basically socialism. This is but it's becoming more and more apparent that we're headed towards like a very stark rich and poor, have and have not, and those people that have access to those resources, like Sean mentioned transhumanism, like are they going to even be the same species as poor people? Like when you can afford to have the brain implant that other people can't have, and that brain implant can make you think 1,000 times faster, and you get perfect recall, and you could search a database, and every person you see, you know who they are, what they're about, and everything about them. Like, this is brave new world territory. I'm just like, these are things that kind of like existential type questions that keep me up at night.
Y'all might have a story kind of about that. It's kind of interesting. So y'all might be inspiration for this happening. Anyway, so yeah, the transhumanism thing that you mentioned, it actually ties. So I mentioned third places in the chat. You asked me about it. The point that I want to make about that transhumanism, third place, while we may value the human element, we have to be wary that some of these changes may happen outside of our, I guess, conscious decisions. So an example I would give would be third places. Third places is the play. I actually have one, but a lot of people don't. Your first place is home. Your second place is work. Your third place is for a lot of people going to be church, but a lot less people attend church in today's age. I'm one of them, but something like that where you got maybe it's a gym, maybe it's a bar that you hang out at or whatever. A lot of people are lacking that, and it's not because people don't want that. It's because of macro scale changes that weren't designed to do that. It's NIMBYs, it's districting laws, it's result of like all these different factors. And then we also have social media, for example. When did we all decide as a society that, you know what, I don't like all this interacting in person stuff. I'd rather argue with my uncle that I haven't seen for 12 years about some political topic on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Nobody consciously decided that we wanted to do these things. It's just that the technology progressed in a way and the money made sense in a way where this is kind of what happened. Same thing with transhumanism, all of these things. So my point is, we're already seeing this unfold, and I think we have to be cognizant of that. You can't just say, oh, well, the human spirit is irreplaceable. Well, of course it is. We're humans. Our human will and what makes us human is incredibly important to us, but what we are dealing with is a system that is, sure, it's operated by people, but it is, in a sense, greater than the sum of all parts. We're talking about macroeconomic and macro socioeconomic systems that are unfeeling. They don't have agendas per se. This is just shit manifesting in a way. So I think, Edward, what I get what you're saying, and I agree, and I want to feel that way, but it's hard for me to feel that way when I see this trajectory that we're in.
So, Dwight, and I appreciate that. So, to give you a little perspective, so I've been going to a men's fellowship since I was 16, one Saturday or one Sunday a month, since I was 16 years old, in person. Last Sunday, we had 4,000 attorney, my son's a mechanical engineer. We put all technology in a box.